In this video, I'm going to paint in the ridge, block it in. We've blocked in the sky. I'm leaving that one for the moment because I have pushed on with another painting and blocked in the sky a little bit more. And then with another painting, kept putting in layers and adding to the whole process. So I talked a little bit about putting a darker colour in, and then I'll try some lighter colours there. So you sort of have the idea of what's ahead of you on the sky. But the one we'll work on now, the sky's pretty much undone. But that's not going to be a problem for us. So a little bit of liquid. We're going to mix this ridge, and I have got my iPad. You might have printed a photo off, you can get a good quality one. I've got my iPad here, and I'm looking to mix this sort of colour here, which to me looks like it's got a fair bit of green in it. Just a couple of quick things. I'm in a application called Procreate. I haven't really made that a thing for the course, but if you're interested, you can go and have a look at that. One of the things that Procreate has is this colour wheel. So you can, just gives you a bit of an idea. You can hold your finger down and it will tell you the colour that you had there. Now you can see there are darker parts and lighter parts, so I was trying to pick something that was in the middle. And what it's coming up with is something from green a bit more towards yellow, a yellowy green, but it's got a lot of black in it. So black is here, white is here, and the hue, the greeny yellow is here. So it's closer to black than it is to that hue. A little bit of white, but mostly black with a greeny tinge. So we're going to mix that with a burnt umber. I'll show you something interesting while we're doing this. If we go down to this end, so I'm sampling the ridge down at this end, you'll see that it's changed to a blue now. And this is a feature of landscapes in the distance. The reds and the yellows tend to disappear and the blues assert themselves. So this has got obviously some black, but it's lighter, so it's moving towards white with that bluish hue. So when we mix this, we're going to have to feather it through from a greeny colour through to a bluey grey down at that end. But for the moment, we're just going to do it all in green, and then we'll lay on that colour later. So we're looking to mix a dark sort of green. So the way I'll do that is I'll grab my old friend, my old mate, burnt umber. So mix a bit of that up. This brush, I've done a lot of painting with it. It's sort of lost its shape a bit now, and they're really not, they don't cost much. So I may go and get another one of those. A little bit of black, that was probably a little bit too much. So now I'm trying to rescue that, which I can do with some titanium white. It's the big blocker. A little bit more titanium white. Now it's got virtually no green in it. So let's put a little bit of green in that, and I'm going to take this yellow green. We haven't used it much. So as you know from my brush technique, I'm coming in low and just grabbing a little bit. This yellow green is going to do a couple of things. It's going to lighten the mix because it is a light colour. So it has reduced the tonal value, on that grayscale. Look, I'm not that good at predicting colours out of the bowl, so I always go and put them down and see what I get. So I'm just going to lay a little bit down and see where that leads me. So I'll put this down here. Look, it's not ridiculous. It could have a little bit more green in it, but it's not ridiculous. In terms of tone, could be a little bit darker maybe, but we're in a blocking in stage, so I should be living by my directions to you and just say, look, get the process started, and then add some detail. So that ridge there, that initially looked like that. So I've just added bits of detail over time. So patience is important. It'd be interesting, just as a little exercise, to see what we've got here. Wow, that's pretty close, isn't it? Pretty close. Okay. So that's one advantage of having a master copy, as it were. Okay, so you obviously don't have that advantage, but you do have the photograph. So I think as a first start, let's go with this. I'm really not happy with that brush. It's kind of all, I have looked after it, but it's just splayed out. So I'm going to break into one of my sets and grab another one. So this is the brush I'm going to use. It's got like a nice flat edge. It's just, I'm really struggling with this one to get it to do the right thing. So just bear that in mind. Look, I took my glove off to do something on the iPad. I should put it back on, but I'll just press on. So I'm quite careful. I'm not using bundles of paint. And I'm trying to avoid, I've got a little bit of a lump there on that line. I'm using my brush on its side now. I could go to a smaller brush, because I have got, I think I will go to a smaller brush, just so I can navigate these sort of tight spots down here. Look, the paint's going on really thin and doesn't look much, but it's our first coat. One of the things I will do on this cliff here, when you look at the original photo, you can see that there's those areas of shade on the cliff. I had a look at this on Google Maps. This cliff is pointing slightly north of northwest. And yeah, my guess is it's either spring or autumn, sun slightly in the north, and then we're getting these lines here that are very characteristic of that coastline, that ridge. So I am going to get that process started in just a very modest way. You can see that I have put some lines in there. So rather than just blocking this in totally, I'm just going to put in some lines just so I can keep a bit of an idea of where those lines have gone. So from the sketching that I did for you, I have put those lines in. So I'll put them in, and then when I let this dry, I can go in and add more colours in here. This sort of makes it relatively straightforward. So I've got a small brush. This isn't going to take very long, I don't think. So just sort of finish it off along the bottom there. It's a little bit rough out here. I've always got paper towels, or sometimes you can just use a little brush here just to pick up what you don't want there and just straighten up that line. Okay, so I don't paint without reference. I'm always sort of looking, okay, what's going on here. So this goes a little bit flatter and has a sort of a line up into the dunes. And then we've got this area here, which is a bit greener. So we'll just make a start on this. That's my small brush, which is a little bit undergunned for this. So you can see there are some sort of suggestive lines here up there. So I will use my small brush and just, these lines are quite a lot flatter. So just sort of put in some suggestive lines here to help me for next time. And really that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to leave it like that. I'll let it dry and then I'll start to put a little bit more in. With the sky and with the water, I have flattened, I've gone through and flattened it out after a process like this, but now, because there is some texture in the ridge, unlike the land, unlike the sky and unlike the water, I'm sort of okay with leaving that like that. Maybe the only thing I don't want are these, there's sort of some build-up of paint here. So I'm just going to try and break that up, just so I don't have distracting lumps of paint on the top of my ridge. So you see I'm coming down on that and bringing it down. Another alternative would be to sort of try and come in with this, wipe the brush. So try and catch those parts of the ridge that are a little bit thick with paint. See, like this here, just go through and catch them, and that's all fine. Look, I'm happy with that. It was you saw what the mix was, largely burnt umber and black and titanium white, and then I put in a little bit of that yellow green. But I'll then, once that's dry, work towards that sort of image of trying to bring in more greens and adding in some detail along here. Okay, so that's the ridge.